everyone. My name is Michael Callahan, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer here at Salt Security, and I'm really happy to be part of TechNadu's Humans in Cyber Video interview series. So let me just start right off with my background and what was the inspiration for getting into cybersecurity. I think by education, I'm an engineer and by undergrad, but I think I've always had this desire to understand how things worked. And you may remember there was a book. It was a really big book, like the size of a yearbook you might have in high school. It was called How Things Work, and it went through everything in very simple terms, like how does a CD work, or a DVD player, or how does a combustion engine work, or how does an airplane work? And I loved it, and I probably read that countless times back to back, understanding that, and it was always really interesting to me. And I think that was the perfect background maybe for security, because I always wanted to understand just how things worked. And so understanding that in security, if you can understand things, it helps to take something that's so abstract. So security is very abstract. You don't often see like someone breaking into a computer system like you would like a bank, right? Which is very, like you could see all of that, right? You would understand exactly what's going on. Security is a little more abstract because it's all digital in a sense. And I think understanding how things work help you to turn that into something that people can connect with. So as an example, API security. Very few people know what an API is. It stands for Application Programming Interface, and basically it's how all of your applications talk to each other. When you order a ride share and you say, I'd like it to pick me up. Well, there's a bunch of API transactions or calls that make that happen. So it could be from calling a map system, like, well, where are you? Where's the driver? What's traffic look like at the airport? Is your credit card information up to date? All of these things are APIs, and they're becoming more and more common and more prevalent throughout organizations and all of us as we interact with things, because the applications are all being driven by APIs, and then AI agents in particular just take that volume and just explode it 100x of what it was before. But still, back to an API, it's abstract. So what can you do? Well, we tell a story, and we came up with, like, how can you make that real for people? How can you make it so people identify with it? So we thought about what are APIs and how are they powering a business, and they really create a fabric, right? So a fabric like you would think of in your clothing or a bedding or whatever. There's this fabric that's created that is all connected throughout your organization. And when we tell this story and we try to take something abstract and say this whole API world that lives in your environment, it's just like a fabric. It's just like the fibers or the in your clothes that are all woven together but all connected. That's what APIs are. They create this fabric. And so we take something that's abstract and try to connect it back to something that people can identify with. So that's a good way to take something abstract and make it real. And you may sometimes, you may think it could be like a nervous system. That's another way that we take something abstract and kind of bring it into like, well, this is what you do, because you give it sort of a parallel. But then how do you make it real for people? And I think that's the storytelling piece of it. And what we've found that's very effective, and I've found effective through my career, is you give examples of people that are like them. So imagine that you are in the airline industry, and you're talking to someone in the airline industry. You want to be able to tell them a story that's relevant. So if I'm talking to a CISO at an airline, I could tell them about some customers that we have that are in the food industry. And then what would happen is I would rely on them, the CISO at the airline industry, to figure out what that means to them. Well, that's too much. It's too much of a jump. It's too much of a leap, and it's going to take their time to figure that out. So what can you do? Well, you make it easy for them, and so you tell a story that's relevant to them. So in this case, if I'm talking to an airline CISO, I may say, we have another airline customer who was very concerned with their frequent flyer program, and that program and the application that it's built on. There's a lot of API transactions that happen, and so what they found when this other airline, when they looked at it, they had many more APIs than they thought. In fact, they had many that were out there that weren't being used anymore, and some that they didn't even know about, called shadow APIs. And so what we did was we were able to give them that visibility into what they had, what maybe wasn't being used, which is like a zombie API, but what they didn't even know about. And so we gave them visibility, and then we're able to show them were these APIs in or out of the posture that they had already set, or the policy that they had already set. So the point of this is, when you're storytelling, it has to be relevant. You can't expect them to then take the action and go figure out what things mean to them. You got to help them along the way, and so you give them something that's relevant when you're storytelling. We also, as we were going through our own marketing activities, you look for what's the best. Where do you make the best connections? Well, clearly in person, and I think one of the good trends that I'm seeing lately is more and more people going back into in-person type events, large or small. But it's giving them the opportunity to connect with people, because when you're talking with someone, you can understand if they understand what you're saying, or if you understand what they're saying, and you can question it, and you can tell by your body language or facial expressions. And it gives you much more than you would see online. Now, you still have to do activities online, and you rely on yourself to write or communicate in a way that connects with people. But we definitely are seeing more people want to, and you have much richer and deeper conversations if you do it in person. The advice that I would give people just getting into cybersecurity, sort of young marketers, the number one piece is understand the product. Understand what you're marketing. You need to become an expert in the tactics and the tools of your trade. So you need to understand how to do demand generation, or events, or partner marketing, or channel marketing, or online, or paid search, or paid social. You need to understand how to do that, but that's kind of the baseline. But the real thing you need to do is you need to understand the product, and understand that product was built to solve a customer problem, and understand the problem, understand how your product solves it, so then you can communicate something that's relative to people, or relevant to people, so that they can, then they can use your product to help solve problems in their business. So that would be my advice to anyone: is understand the product. Thank you for having me here today, and I look forward to talking with you more. If you would like to visit Salt and learn more about what we do, you can visit us, of course, at our website at salt.security. Thank you.